Hello everyone, today I'll be solving the USACO 2022 US Open Contest Silver problem number 2, subset equality. First I'll be showing you my solution and then explaining how it works, and then finally I'll be coding out for you guys. Okay, so let's begin. So when I first saw this problem, I thought to iterate through all the queries and then iterate through the strings to see if the case would match. But then I quickly realized that would run out of time because the queries can be up to 10 to the 5th and the string can also be up to 10 to the 5th, so if we solved it in quadratic time, that would be 10 to the 5th times 10 to the 5th, which is 10 to the 10th, which is a bit too much for USACO, sadly. And so after thinking about it for a bit, I realized that what I could do was iterate through A through R and then iterate through A through R again, so that I can get all the pairs of the letters, so AA, AB, AC, on and on. And then by doing this, I would be able to find the different combinations of them. So to show you what I mean, I will be opening up Microsoft Paint and explain it to you guys. Okay, so now that I have Microsoft Paint open, I'll show you guys what I mean. So let's first draw the two sample cases, AA, B, C, D, and then C, A, B, D. So my algorithm will iterate through all the different pairs in the alphabet A through R, so for I, A through R. Then also I'll be iterating it. I'll be putting a for loop, nesting a for loop inside the for loop, so let's just do for x, A through R, or no. Instead of going A through R again, I'll be doing for x, I through R, because I don't want double the pairs, if you know what I mean. So let's say that I had AB, I don't want BA, because they're essentially the same thing. So if I do I through R, then that would prevent that. Let me just get rid of that. And so for x, I through R. Oops. And then this would get all the pairs of the letters. So like AA, AB, AC, on and on. And then BB, BC, BD, on and on. So what my algorithm does is it takes the order for all of the different the pairs of letters. So after I get the different pairs, I'll loop through each of the strings. So loop through once, let's just call it index for string 1. Okay, and then I'll loop through string 2 outside of that, so let's just call it index again, and string 2. And then when I loop through it, if string of index here, let me just move all that here. Here, let's get rid of this. Move it to the side. Okay, so if string of index, if that's equal to I or R, or X, then I will add it to a concatenated string. So I'll concatenate that to a string, so here, we'll do that later. Then same thing for this, so string 2, index, then if equals to I or X, I'll concatenate. And this will make a bit more sense once I give an example. So, okay, let's say that we have the pair AB, okay? So I is A, X is B. Then when we iterate through the strings, string 1 and string 2, we can see that in string 1, there's 2 A's and a B. And then string 2, there's again 2 A's and a B. So because the concatenated strings are equal, it means that the order for the A's and B's, it makes sense, it works. So So what I would do is after getting all of the working ones, I will loop through all of the queries, and then I will loop through all of the different letters in the queries. So let me show you guys how I do that in my code. Okay, so let's get started on the coding. So first I'll take my input, S and T. So they're both strings. And then my number of queries, Q. Okay, so first, before I iterate through the queries, I will want to loop through all the different pairs in the alphabet. So let me do that. So let's int works. Okay, so for int I equals a, I is less than or equal to r. Yeah, r. So I is less than or equal to r plus plus. And like I mentioned, you have to do for int x equals I, because we don't do I plus 1, because we also want to consider the case where the query contains only one letter. If it only contains one letter, then we'll do the pair of a letter and the same letter. So so x equals I, and then x is less than or equal to r. So once we do that, we'll want to create the two different concatenation strings. So concatenate 1, concatenate 2, and then we'll iterate through each of the different strings. So let's just call index or end string s dot size, and concatenate 1. And if s end is equal to I or x, then I'll add it to concatenate, the corresponding concatenate. So for s, it would be concatenate 1. So plus equals s of n. Oh, no, not plus equals. And then we do the same thing for the other strings. So for int n equals 0 and less than t dot size, t of n equals I or I guess we can't really do that. Or s of n equals concatenate 2 plus equals t of n. And after we do that, we have to compare concatenate 1 and concatenate 2 to see if they're equal. If they are equal, it means that the combination works, and if not, it doesn't. So first, let me create a boolean 2D array to log all the data. So we'll just call it compatible, I guess, and we can make that an arbitrary number like 100. And so first of all, we know that if the sizes of concatenate 1 and concatenate 2 aren't equal, we know immediately that they're not the same. So let's first compare the sizes. So if concatenate 1 dot size not equal to concatenate 2 dot size, then we can just put that compatible of I minus a, and then x minus a equals false, and then continue it. Now, if they are the same, then we have to iterate through concatenate 1 and concatenate 2 to determine if the strings are actually equal or not. So let's do that right here. So n equals 0 and is less than concatenate 1 dot size n plus plus. So if concatenate 1 of end is not equal to concatenate 2 of end, then we know that they're not compatible. So I'll just set the compatible to false. And we can just break. So first, before we have to do that, we have to preset compatible to be true, because by default it's at false. So I'll use memset. So true, and then And this way, if the combinations work, then it'll show up the compatible as true. If not, it'll be false. And so now that we have done this, we can just loop through all the different queries and then see the different pairs. So we'll do that. Take the input. And then we have to go through all the different pairs of letters in the query. Now, because we know that there's no repeated letters and that they're already sorted, we don't really have to do anything to the query. We can just use it as is. And so let's just loop through all the different pairs. So int I equals input dot I equals 0. Input dot size. I plus 1. Notice how it's I plus 1 here because you know that there's no repeats. So we don't have to start at I. And if compatible ix is false, then we know that it doesn't work. So we can just do print n for now. And then we can just move on to the next query. So here I'll create a label just named cont. I'll just continue. This way I can just go to continue instead of having to break out of the individual for loops. Or go to cont, I guess. So if it's not compatible, then I'll just skip immediately to that and go on to the next query after printing out no. And in the case that it is true, then I can just print out yes or y. Now one more thing, you have to consider the case where the query has just one letter. Now if we do this here, if input.size is equal to 1, we just use the pair of itself. So we can just do the same thing down here, but with the same letter. So compatible I and I is false. So we can just do no. And then go to cont. So this way, even if it's one letter, it'll still function fine. And yeah, I think that'll work. Here, let me test it out. There appears to be a problem. So ABD prints yes, which shouldn't be the case. Or no, AC prints yes, yeah. Huh. Oh right, yeah, so one thing that you have to remember to do is instead of using the index value for compatible, you have to use the compatible index value minus the character A, because the thing is, if you just did the index value, what would happen is it would use the ACSII value of the character instead of the actual index value. I think that's what it's called. And in order to prevent that, you have to subtract it by the first letter of the alphabet, A, so that it negates all that. Oh wait, no. So it'll be compatible input I minus that. Yep, let's test that out. And yeah, yes, no. That appears to match the sample output, so let's just submit it to make sure it's all correct. And it appears to pass all the test cases. Okay. So, if you enjoyed, please leave a like. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. It's just or email me, and I'll try to help you figure them out. And this was only my second video, so I might seem a bit nervous. Please be wary of that. And thank you for your time. Yeah, peace.